Chapter 1. The Basics on Binge Eating and Compulsive Overeating. A synopsis: binge eating disorder is qualified by compulsive overeating, in which individuals eat big amounts of food while feeling out of control and too weak to quit. The symptoms of binge eating disorder commonly begin in late adolescence or early adulthood, frequently after a major diet. A binge eating sequence commonly lasts around 2 hours, but some individuals binge on and off all day long. Binge eaters frequently eat even when they are not hungry and carry on eating long after they're full. They might likewise gorge themselves as fast as they may, while hardly registering what they are eating or tasting. What's going on? The key characteristics of binge eating disorder are frequent episodes of uncontrollable binge eating, feeling extremely distressed or upset during or after binging. Unlike bulimia, there are no regular attempts to make up for the binges through vomiting, fasting, or overexercising. Individuals with binge eating disorder struggle with feelings of guilt, disgust, and depression. They worry about what the compulsive eating will do to their bodies and beat themselves up for their lack of self-control. They desperately want to stop binge eating, but feel like they can't. Binge eating might be comforting for a brief moment, but then reality sets back in, along with regret and self-loathing. Binge eating often leads to weight gain and obesity, which only reinforces compulsive eating. The worse a binge eater feels about themselves and their appearance, the more they use food to cope. It becomes a vicious cycle: eating to feel better, feeling even worse, and then turning back to food for relief. For individuals who compulsively overeat, the condition may be qualified as a food addiction, coupled with an obsessional relationship with food. Experts in the field of eating disorder treatment treat this condition as either a food addiction or behavior characteristic. An individual suffering from compulsive overeating disorder is propelled by a driving force to engorge and engage in commonplace episodes of unmanageable eating. Binging makes an individual feel out of control and consume food to the point of being too full, and at times may become physically sick because of eating a bit much food. Individuals who compulsively overeat commonly eat for reasons besides physical hunger. An obsession to compulsively eat is evidenced through the individual's devotion to food and secretive nature, in relation to be able to eat in seclusion and isolation. Compulsive overeating likewise leads an individual to gain weight and become obese, but this isn't a hallmark of somebody having the condition, simply a side effect of high caloric intake on a steady basis. Additionally, individuals who have compulsive overeating engage in grazing conduct and will sporadically pick at food throughout the day. Compulsive overeating leads an individual to devour big amounts of calories, even if little amounts of food are eaten at a time. When the compulsive eating leads to sequences of binging, it's a binge eating disorder. And when there's continual overeating taking place, the individual has a compulsive eating disorder. A compulsive eating disorder treatment center may identify and teach an individual the difference between the two disorders and supply the skills and knowledge which lets an individual crush the disorder. If left untreated, a compulsive eating disorder may lead an individual to experience a lot of different health-related problems like high cholesterol, hypertension, sleep apnea, depression, kidney disease, arthritis, bone loss, stroke, and diabetes. There are particular signs that may identify whether or not an individual may have a compulsive eating disorder. Such signs include the accompanying binging or unmanageable eating even if not hungry, eating really little quantities in public, Eating more rapidly than normal. Eating in secret, ascribable to shame or guilt. Feeling shamefaced due to binging. Compulsion with body weight size. Depression, drawing back from activities due to embarrassment about body and weight. Cognizance of abnormal eating patterns. History of being unsuccessful at assorted diet plans. History of weight spikes and losses and unstable weight care. Chapter 2. Signs and symptoms. A synopsis. Individuals with binge eating or overeating issues are mortified and ashamed of their eating habits, so they a great deal of the time attempt to hide their symptoms and eat in secret. A lot of binge and compulsive overeaters are overweight or obese, but a few are of normal weight. What happens? Behavioral symptoms of binge eating and compulsive overeating are as follows. Some are repeated but deserve to be so, and some are new. Inability to quit eating or control what you're consuming. Quickly eating big amounts of food. Eating even when you're full. Hiding or stocking food to consume later in secret. Eating normally around other people, however gorging when you're solo. Eating ceaselessly throughout the day with no designed meal times. Emotional symptoms of binge eating and compulsive overeating. Feeling tension or stress that's only relieved by eating. Embarrassment over how much you're consuming. Feeling dull or without feeling while binging, like you're not truly there or you're on automatic pilot. Never feeling quenched, regardless how much you eat. Feeling guilty, revolted, or depressed after binging. Desperation to command weight and eating habits. Ask yourself the accompanying questions. The more yes answers, the more probable it is that you have binge or overeating disorder. Do you seem and feel out of control when you're eating? Do you think of food all the time? 24-7. Do you eat secretly? Do you eat till you feel ill? Do you eat to shake off worries, relieve tension, or to comfort yourself? Do you feel sickened or ashamed after eating? Do you feel too weak to stop eating, even though you desire to? The impact of binge eating. Binge eating leads to a broad assortment of physical, emotional, and social issues. Individuals with binge eating or overeating disorder report a lot of health issues, tension, insomnia, and suicidal notions than individuals without an eating disorder. Depression, tension, and substance abuse are more common side effects as well. However, the most outstanding effect of binge eating and overeating disorder is weight gain. On episodes of binge eating, an individual may eat as much as 5,000 calories per session and an upward of 50,000 calories or possibly more per day. The feelings that come from determined overeating lead the individual to feel a high, which may be akin to what is undergone by a junkie. There are likewise feelings of emotional release and command, which make the conduct pattern hard to break and really addictive. Only with compulsive eating disorder treatment may an individual really identify foul patterns of behavior, learn a sounder relationship with food, and start the journey to recovery and healing. Desisting from addictive food patterns may really cause an individual to experience withdrawal symptoms and lead to depression and tension because of increased serotonin levels. There are a lot of biological complexities which one will come across when dealing with a compulsive eating disorder, and this is totally separated from food problems. Food holds a complex mix of chemicals which impact the human body in an assortment of different ways, which is demonstrated in the communication of the stomach and brain. It may be harder to try and quit the compulsion alone, which is how come compulsive eating treatment is such a crucial asset to those who wish to become better. Chapter 3. What are the causes? A synopsis. Broadly speaking, it takes a combination of matters to develop binge eating and compulsive eating, including an individual's genes, emotions, and experience. What brings it on? Biological grounds of binge eating. Biological abnormal conditions may contribute to binge eating. For instance, the hypothalamus, the component of the brain that commands appetite, might not be sending off correct messages about hunger and being full. Research workers have likewise found a genetic mutation that comes out to cause food addiction. Lastly, there's evidence that low levels of the brain chemical serotonin play a part in compulsive eating. Social and cultural grounds of binge eating. Social pressure to be thin may add to the disgrace binge eaters feel and fire their emotional eating. A few parents unknowingly set the stage for binge eating by utilizing food to comfort, dismiss, or reward their youngsters. Youngsters who are exposed to frequent critical comments about their bodies and weight are likewise vulnerable, as are those who have been sexually abused in puerility. Psychological grounds of binge eating depression and binge eating are powerfully linked. A lot of binge eaters are either depressed or have been earlier. Others might have trouble with impulse control and handling and expressing their feelings. Low self-regard, loneliness, and body dissatisfaction might also contribute to binge eating. Binge eating and tension. Among the most common grounds for binge eating is an attempt to handle objectionable emotions like stress, depression, loneliness, fear, and tension. When you have a foul day, it may seem like food is your only supporter. Binge eating may temporarily make feelings like tension, sadness, anxiety, depression, and boredom evaporate into thin air. But the relief is only really fleeting. The physical explanation of compulsive overeating might be attributed to an overeater's expanded tendency to secrete insulin at the sight and smell of food, although medical evidence supporting this is controversial. A few research workers likewise attribute it to excessive neurological sensitivity in taste and slash or smell. Fatty foods might cause cocaine-like addiction. Taking drugs like cocaine and consuming too much junk food, both bit by bit, overload the supposed pleasure centers in the brain. Eventually, the pleasure centers crash, and accomplishing the same pleasure or even simply feeling normal calls for increasing amounts of the drug or food. Chapter 4. Self-help tips for overeaters. A synopsis. It may be tough to defeat binge eating and food addiction. Contrary to other addictions, your drug is essential for survival, so you don't have the alternative of avoiding it. Rather, you have to develop a sounder relationship with food. A relationship that's founded on coping with your nutritional needs, not your emotional ones.